Go ahead.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today we'll be presenting the Roman civilization with the writer Lucretius, and we'll be discussing the book on the nature of things. So, throughout this presentation, we'll be first discussing the Roman civilization, then we'll move on to talk about the biography of Lucretius, then on the nature of things, and finally we'll analyze the book. And we have a quotation from Lucretius that summarizes his main ideas and themes, which is, fear was the first thing on earth to create gods.
Okay, so first we're going to talk a bit about the Roman civilization. A bit of a historical context. The Roman Empire was founded in 625 BC and fell in 475 AD. That's a reign of 1,100 years. We can divide the history of the Roman Empire into three periods. The first period in Roman history was known as the period of kings. It lasted from Rome's founding until 510 BC. During this brief time, Rome was led by no more than 6 kings, and it advanced more both militaristically and economically, with production and trade of goods. Politically, this period saw the early formation of the Roman constitution. The end of the period of king came with the decline of royal power, thus ushering in Rome's Republican period. Rome entered its Republican period in 510 BC. No longer ruled by kings, the Romans established a new form of government whereby the upper classes ruled, namely the senators and the knights. However, a dictator could be nominated in times of crisis. In 451 BC, the Romans established the 12 Tables, which is a standardized code of laws meant for public, private, and political matters. Rome continued to expand through the Republican period and gained control over the entire Italian peninsula by 338 BC. While Rome continued to be governed as a republic, the shift to imperialism began to materialize in 60 BC when Julius Caesar rose to power. Although the Senate was still Rome's governing body, its power was weakening. Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC and replaced by his heir, Caesar Octavian, who ruled alongside Mark Antony. In 31 BC, Rome overtook Egypt, which resulted in the death of Mark Antony and left Octavian as the unchallenged ruler of Rome. Octavian assumed the title of Augustus and thus became the first Roman emperor. Rome's imperial period was its last, beginning with the rise of Rome's first emperor in 31 BC and lasting until several decades until its fall in 476 AD. During this period, Rome saw several decades of peace, prosperity, and expansion. By 117 AD, the Roman Empire had reached its maximum extent, spanning 3 continents, including Asia, Northern Africa, and most of Europe. In 286 AD, the Roman Empire was split into Eastern and Western empires, each ruled by its own emperor. The Western Empire suffered several invasions, and in 455 AD was sacked by Vandals. Rome continued to decline after that until 476 AD, when the Western Roman Empire came to an end. The Eastern Roman Empire was then known as the Byzantine Empire and survived until the 15th century. So we can see here how it expands to the max, and then it splits here, and this half is gonna disappear. Okay, so the Romans, just like the Greeks, believe in a pantheon of different gods, but although they had different names, the gods worshipped by the Romans were essentially the same gods as the Greek gods. So we can see that Jupiter is the equivalent of Zeus, Mars is the equivalent of Ares, Neptune, Poseidon, and so on. And just like the Greeks, they would build temples dedicated to different gods to worship them. We can see here the temple of Jupiter and the ruins in Baalbek, which are ruins of 3 different temples dedicated to Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus. The Roman Empire was the source of great achievements, advances, and innovations in many fields. In the field of arts, the Romans were excellent sculptors and developed new sculpting techniques that allowed them to create marble sculptures with an incredible level of detail, a lot of which we can still find in museums today. In science and technology, IMG, the Romans were extremely adept engineers. They understood the laws of physics very well, and they developed aqueducts and better ways to aid water flow. They harnessed water as energy for powering mines and mills. They also built an expansive road system, which was a great achievement at the time, and the road system was so large that it was said that all roads led to Rome. Along with large-scale engineering projects, the Romans also developed tools and methods for use in agriculture. The Romans became successful farmers due to their knowledge of climate, soil, and other planting-related subjects. They developed or refined ways to effectively plant crops and to irrigate and drain fields. Their techniques are still used by modern farmers today, such as crop rotation, pruning, grafting, seed selection, and manuring. In the field of literature, during what is considered the golden age of Roman poetry, poets such as Virgil, Horace, and Ovid produced works that have had an everlasting impact. Ovid's Metamorphoses, for example, which inspired authors such as Shakespeare. While Roman literature had a deep impact on the rest of the world, it is important to note the impact of the Roman language on the Western world. Ancient Romans spoke Latin, which spread throughout the world with the increase of Roman political power. Latin became the basis of a group of languages referred to as Romance languages. These include French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. And finally, in the field of architectures, the ancient Romans created curved roofs and large-scale arches which were able to support more weight than the post and beam constructions used by the Greeks. These arches served as the foundation for the massive bridges and aqueducts the Romans created, some of which are still in use today. They also used these arches to build giant stadiums like the Colosseum. The Romans also developed a type of cement using volcanic ash, which rivals the strength of cement we use today, which is why the structures they built are still standing to this day.
And now we'll move on to present the Roman writer Lucretius. This is the part of I should be able to.
أكاد أزداد